Well, I'm talking with Chris Thomas, and we're picking up when we left off from part one. You keep bringing out your reports, is it every 3 months, about how we're doing, the well-being of the Isle of Man, and this must have a tie-up, because you're saying you want to make people feel happy and excited. Where are we at the minute? Are people happy with government? Are they happy with their lifestyles? Where are we up to in a minute?
People are happy in the Isle of Man, not quite as happy as they are across.
Isn't that incredible? I just find that most people must find that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, but isn't it a bit like, Max's, we're always a bit grumbly and all of that.
In other words, you'll never get the right answers possibly from that sort of survey.
And in terms of whether or not people trust government, trust their politicians, trust the media, trust health service, it's gone down in the last year.
The media.
We'll be publishing that in the next week, so I'm giving you an exclusive and so on. But essentially, the issue is, there's a bit of survey, in part, there's a bit of survey fatigue, and it's really hard, to get we're recording this on the day before the general election in England and everywhere else in the United Kingdom, and there's a big issue with pollsters being accurate. And in part that's because people know how pollsters operate. In part that's because if you get asked lots of questions over and over again, you end up...
and hence the polls are completely wrong sometimes. People say one thing but mean another, potentially.
Perhaps, and also it's a certain type of person perhaps that goes all the way through the survey, so there's loads of potential survey bias that we've got to deal with. So
no one can say you're not trying to make everyone happy anyway. You seem very keen on that.
Exactly that. And then there's some other great things that the independent inspectors recommended to Cabinet Office for the area plan for the East. One of those is how important greenfield land really is. So if we're going to use greenfield land, we've got to make sure that we've actually got the people here on the island. So he's put in a condition, he suggested a condition that we might want to make the release of some housing land in Onchan around north of Douglas, certain other parcels of land conditional on us actually having a population of 89,000.
Are you still happy about that figure?
Well, we've got to make up our minds, so I can't commit Cabinet Office what we will make up our minds. We've just received that advice from the independent inspector, so we'll be reflecting on it over Christmas in the new year, and then we'll be coming back with a new area plan for the East in draft, which we'll consult on for a couple of months. So he said that. He's also said it's really important to remember that recreation space and open space are important in their own right. So in his recommendations, he's suggested that the tennis courts and the bowling green in Finch Hill is actually carved out as policy for a really important open space.
Green zone.
He said that the Balaflatcher rugby pitches and football pitch and cricket pitch and all of that should all be marked out as green space, Cronkbourne likewise. And what's more, he's also said it's very exciting what Isle of Play proposed to him, which is that we've basically got under provision in the Isle of Man for recreation areas. So he suggested that we needed to think as Cabinet Office and as government about more play areas. Another thing he said was you have to acknowledge that the Isle of Man people seem to expect to live in a place where you can drive everywhere quite quickly without any traffic jams, so you have to deal with that.
That's our plus, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
massive plus.
But it's, in the light of that expectation, you really do have to think through how your transport and travel policies are. So he complimented us on our active travel approach to planning, to try and get people to work, to walk and cycle and anywhere other way they want to get to work. And also he said that there are pinch points. So he said that by 2022 we had to have sorted out the access road. He said that we needed to have two-way traffic on the thing, which is a major recommendation.
A lot of money for something that's used 4 weeks a year.
Yeah, but that's a major recommendation. You can't pretend that there's not going to be pinch points.
2022.
It's what he said,
that's not far.
It's not far. So
the prom will be done by then.
Better make sure he books the afternoon for opening that, because I've got to go to the prom. No, of course the prom will be done by the 2021 at the election. We've been assured that by our leaders.
Okay, well, it's good to talk to you about this, and the concern is that that you now want to see action, right? I mean, you put the incentives in. Yeah. You now want people to take up and start producing.
Yeah, and it is it is a great opportunity. If you look at the island, and we've got the talk of new cinemas and talk of new houses and a new way of living inside towns, because you do have to live in towns differently from in the countryside. You're going to be living more likely in a flat rather than in a place with a small garden. It's a different Isle of Man, and we've got to make sure that that's what people want. I mean, back in 10 years or so ago, there was a lot of controversy about Lake Road, and at one point the developers had big cranes over here to carry on with lots of flats, and they don't seem to have been the most popular in places to live in the island, and there were issues about flooding as well. But you know, it's a new way of living. Perhaps everybody who's in the Isle of Man has come here because they want not to live in towns. Perhaps it is they want to have their own garden and be living in a little village. And what the inspector said is that, you know, what he heard was that people in the Crosby and Glenvine and Union Mills, you know, don't seem to want to have lots of new houses.
I don't think anyone wants them on their doorstep, do they?
So I'm not saying it's on their doorstep, that's the reason, but what they're saying is the character, the settlement character of those villages needed to be preserved as smaller places. In other words, buy our houses rather than build your own houses.
Finally, how much time do we set aside now between these proposals now and something tangible, do you think? I mean, do you think it will...
I hope that the area plan for the east is made by Tynwald by the summer recess, so June or July Tynwald. Yeah. I hope that year after that we can start treating comprehensively some of the areas designated inside the area plan. And in terms of community infrastructure levies, rates, modernisation, taxes, I would hope that we're making good progress in 2020. So look at the Isle of Man if you're a young person and you want a new career, because we have got lots of ageing professions that will need replenishing. And you know, look at the Isle of Man if you want things to change, because we do have brownfield sites that need filling up, and I'm absolutely sure that in the next few years they're going to be filling up.